Hello, welcome to Aspire to Soar. My name's Kerry, and today I am joined by Felix, who is going to share with us his own story of how he healed himself from his own chronic illness. Just before we get started, I do just want to say I am not a medical doctor, neither is Felix, so anything we share today is our own opinion. Thank you for coming today, Felix. Welcome to the channel.
Thanks for having me. Really cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited to hear your story. So to start with, please can you tell us what the condition is that you had or have and how it affected your life?
Yeah, well, I do have this thing called polycystic kidney disease. It's a genetic condition that they diagnosed in myself and my dad and my grandma when I was about, I think it was 11 or 12.
Wow.
And I'm 30 now, so it has been looming over me, I guess, in some kind of way. And I always thought that at some point there might be a problem with it. And like my grandma is in dialysis, like since she was, I think, 70 or something. So that's pretty late. Statistically speaking, normally people have it earlier in that disease state. She's at a pretty low kidney function, of course, for a long time. And yeah, I didn't even plan to impact this in any way. It was sort of a happy coincidence, I guess. Yeah, I guess the culprit for me was when I was in my studies. I actually studied film directing.
Okay.
And back then it was a pretty stressful situation in the environment that I was in the school. There were weird people and a lot of stress going on. And over time that took a hit on my on my cortisol levels. So I had that, what they call burnout. I'm not sure if that's actually the right way to say it, because the chemical things that are happening are maybe a little bit different than we used to think. But anyway, back then I was just feeling really lousy and I had like no idea of medical things. I was just like this guy making movies, no affiliation with any medical things.
Yeah.
And I stumbled upon this this podcast back then called the Bulletproof Radio.
Okay.
And these guys were back then, it was like 2014 or so. It was pretty new. And I just read that they were somehow concerning themselves with optimizing human performance in every way. And like there was an episode every week or so. And I just started listening from episode 1 and like I took it all in. And then I actually decided to switch universities, because that gave me better chances at a good degree, and also gave me the chance to make a pause of about 1 year. And in that year, I just listened to all the health podcasts that I could get, and I listened to everything that I could find. And I just like built this basic knowledge of like how to optimize being a human, you know, like diet, exercise, supplements, light therapy, like getting your circadian rhythm right, and all these basic things. And then I found a guy who had a good method to reverse the burnout that I had. It was called the Kalish method, if there's anyone listening. So that's how I got over my burnout. And we fixed my adrenals and was feeling good again. And then I went to the nephrologist for my annual checkup. And lo and behold, I did not expect that in any way, but I had an increase in GFR, and I also had a decrease in kidney volume. And for non-PKD patients, that might sound like a bad thing.
Yeah.
But in PKD, you basically expect the kidney to grow by about 3% every year. Of course, everybody's different, you know.
Yeah.
But in my case, I didn't have that. And it was like a small but significant reduction. But the doctor, of course, said, well, you know, ultrasound is very inaccurate, and we don't really know if that means anything. So it's probably nothing. So yeah. Then I got an MRI I think it was a year later or two. And in that MRI, we could also confirm, because I had an MRI from a couple years back, that kidney volume had actually dropped by 7%. And that just doesn't happen in PKD, like, ever.
Wow. And what
It's
did
not
the
really
doctor say?
possible. Yeah, and I mean, like, his stance was, get the MRI and then we'll know for sure what's up. And then I got the MRI, and then of course there were new like things he said that why it maybe wasn't accurate, and they always find another angle that makes it irrelevant, because that's how human brains work. They always want to like disregard everything and just keep on with their worldview, I guess.
Yeah, that cognitive dissonance, isn't it, where you can't process something else. You have to stay in your lane, essentially.
Yeah, it can't be true, therefore it isn't.
Yes. That is it. Yeah,
love that saying.
Yeah. So to get to that point, you had been following a different lifestyle then. So by that point you had totally changed your lifestyle around. Essentially. Yeah, following all these things that you pulled together yourself from listening to so much information, and you started, I'm guessing, piecing things together and seeing what worked for you.
Yeah, I mean, like, the next phase was, I had these results then, and I was really curious, like, why I'd gotten those results, because nobody promised them to me. And then there they were. And that's actually when I started reading actual science, because I still had a couple months left of my pause from my study. And I just started like digging into the different mechanisms that might be behind this. And then I found that there's like a lot of parallels between different diseases, because the same pathways are affected. So for example, in PKD, you have like this cell proliferation, like cells are growing that shouldn't be, probably. And you also have that in other things like cancer, for example. And a lot of research just hasn't been done in PKD, but a lot of research has been done in cancer. And once you kind of understand which pathways are implicated, then you can start generalizing and looking at other research from other areas that doesn't normally apply to PKD, but if you know what aspects to focus on, then you can actually gain some knowledge from that. And then I synthesized like my own kind of paper from everything that I read. I had amassed like hundreds of studies that pointed towards some different mechanisms, and I narrowed it down to about 12 different mechanisms. And now I mostly think about one or two of those that are really most important. And basically most of it seems now to revolve around this whole idea of directly impacting the proliferation of cells, so the growth of cells, through something called mTOR. So that's the mammalian target of rapamycin. So that's a scientific name, and that's basically just a receptor that when triggered, triggers growth of tissues throughout the body. Yeah, and when we trigger that, then we grow muscle, but we also give a signal to mutated PKD cells to also. And then like you have this problem where you, on the one hand, you don't want these cysts to grow, but on the other hand, you need muscle. You can't just, you know, there's this stuff that's called rapamycin, and it's really like an immune suppressor. And if they give that to some patients, kidneys start to shrink, but it has all these side effects and people feel terrible on it. And of course, lose muscle mass and everything. It's not a good way to live. So what I found in all these studies is that you can impact, of course, this growth cycle with fasting and also with ketosis.
Which is very similar again to a cancer plan that you say. That's something that I've seen from talking to people. That's what a lot of people do with cancer as well. So yeah, it's very similar similar journey. So it's finding that balance, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and it does seem like in PKD, I mean, these are all things that are very new. And back when I wrote this like sort of paper that I could never really get someone else to work on with me to publish. I talked to a couple of science guys, and they were very nice. And I visited a lab even in Seattle, and worked like not really with them, but I like looked at what they're doing. And they were very supportive of what I was doing, but I was never really able to publish it. But now, like 5 years later, there's the first paper that actually confirms what I wrote like back then.
Oh, wow. That must feel amazing that it's actually been validated now by scientists.
That's really cool. And I did all this as derivative work from stuff that had already been done, you know. And they now did an actual animal experiment and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool to see that I was not only seeing this on myself and some other people that are trying to follow it now, but also have one of the first studies in the science. And now there's a small but significant arm of the science that is trying to push this now. And there's, of course, the vast majority of other studies are focusing on medication, and they're, of course, never really checking if you could do it with natural methods too.
No, because that doesn't, that's their target is that way with whatever they get for doing that. And the other scientists are doing the other way. But it's nice to have options, isn't it? There should always be options, and it's amazing to see that there's actually people going in there now and looking at it and offering these options to people, which is it's exciting. So for you did all this over a year, over your year break. Was this all in a sort of space of a year?
Oh, well, that was my main get all the research in and try to understand it phase. And then when I had a basic overview of how it worked, then the next phase for me was really to found this Facebook group back then, because I was posting about my results in all these other Facebook groups that were specific to PKD, you know, and they didn't want to hear it, you know. They just like threw me out. I mean, I was blocked. All the admins talked to me and said, you can't say that, and you just want to sell stuff. And I didn't sell anything at the time. Nothing.
Just sharing.
Didn't even know what they were alleging me of doing, because I don't own a supplement company. I don't have anything, you know. So, I don't know. That's their mindset. Again, like, even though they're patients, they still think can't be true, therefore it isn't. Don't even listen, you know. But then I founded this group, and now it's really I guess in that way social media still kind of works. I mean, there's a lot of censorship going on, and I don't know like how long they're going to keep me on there. But right now the algorithm seems to favor this stuff still, and people are still finding the page. We're growing at a very good rate. We're actually almost cracking 3,000 members now.
Wow.
And that's like, I didn't expect that at all. I was thinking a couple hundred.
Well, 3,000 people who are in that position where they want to help themselves. Is amazing.
And we're getting all these results from people, you know. People are posting their kidney function improvements. They're posting like how their kidneys gotten smaller, and like some of them even bested me, you know. But my last MRI, to put that in perspective, was 4 years ago. So I had another one planned for last year, and that was then canceled because of course it was a what did I call it? It was an optional procedure. So no room for me in the hospital. I could probably do it now, but I haven't yet. I should probably do it. But still, with kidney function, I actually recently got my best result ever. So I'm now actually at the top of the range of kidney function, and even though I have this this PKD.
Wow, it's amazing, isn't it? And it's that, Joe, when you were talking, I was thinking about this new science of epigenetics.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's essentially is what you're doing, is switching genes on and off as you're going along, and you're just, you're living proof that it can be done. which is just, it's, you know, it's fascinating. I find epigenetics fascinating anyway, on its own.
Yeah.
But to see somebody actually putting that into action, because people don't believe that you can do that. They believe it's a genetic condition, so therefore you're stuck with it forever, and there is nothing you can do about it. And you're sat there saying, you can, it's possible.
Nobody thought it was true. I mean, like, we have these things in our society that basically everyone is doing. So there's a couple of like things that I like avoid like the plague, you know. For me, that's grains, seed oils, and I don't avoid dairy, but I did for a long time, just to find out if I was sensitive, and to know like how it feels to definitely not react to it, and then see if there's a problem or not.
Yeah.
For me, there wasn't a problem. I seem to do fine with it, but grains I don't do well, and other like this whole lectin discussion going on with Dr. Stephen Gundry. And I think that's a very, very interesting aspect of the whole epigenetics topic.
Yes.
And I think there's really things that everybody's doing, like 99%. Like 99% of people are consuming like seed oils every day, you know?
Yeah.
And if we just like, even if you don't think that they're bad per se, but let's just say that you have a genetic condition that is triggered by the seed oils, you would think it's a genetic condition that is just like your daily life. And you couldn't even discern between the two, because you never have a day without those, or a week or a month, because some of those things that take months to like resolve.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a never ending cycle. And like you say, people don't know because nobody's told that it might be these things, apart from the very few scientists that are there in the background, like Dr. Gundry jumping up and down saying there might be, but you know, those ones are pushed off to the side at the moment. That's not the way we're focused. Although I do think things are changing, and I do think it's more positive, and I stay positive about this because I think it is positive. And like you say, 3,000 people in a group that want to do this it shows that things are changing, and people are more willing to be open to hearing these things now, which I think is really, really exciting. Really.
Yeah, I mean, we can only hope that social media is still like free enough for quite some time, so people can find this stuff. I don't know if they can find it on other platforms. I mean, Google is already censoring health stuff like left and right. There's a couple of alternative search engines like Swiss Cows or DuckDuckGo or so. They seem to be a little more reliable, but I mean, that's really tough.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that's happening either. If you're not in the world of alternative health or a number of other worlds, then you don't know this is happening, so you don't realize. So you put into Google that you want some natural help for something, and Google is going to give you 15 medical doctors that are doing the same thing as everybody else, and you just don't realize. So I think it's important for that to be shared, and for these alternative engines to be noted, that it's important to do that if you want to find the right information.
Yeah, I mean, these medical doctors, I mean, they mean well, I don't doubt that, but they have their area where they're well trained, and that is not nutrition, and it's not health. It is pharmacology.
Yes.
It is like, how can we influence the body to do specific things, like very, very tightly regulated specific things. And if we know we need to do just that, then how can we make it do that? And pretty much at all cost.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the list of side effects that's 10 pages long that goes with that, but that's okay because it's doing this function, and that's.
They will even do procedures to diagnose something when the diagnosis can make the disease that is suspected worse. They will still do the diagnosis.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's, and it's this focus of the body being like a machine rather than individual, and something that wants to be healthy. Your body doesn't want to be sick, it wants to be healthy, but we have this view of it's sick and it's like a machine and you must fix it this way, and that is it. And like you said, you know, there's different diets, and then you can take what you want from these diets, where you said a lot of them say don't do dairy, but for your body's okay with dairy, so you're okay doing that. And it's that everybody's individualness, isn't it, as well as having an outline of something that works. It's that coming back to that I'm me, this is my body, and this is what my body wants and what it needs. And that's not what happens, and that's not what people are told, which is one of the reasons I want to share these stories, so that people can see that, you know, there might be 10 people that have healed from a condition and they've all done it slightly different, and you can take what you want from it. You know,
I think that's a really great concept, because there's so many people who preach like do this, do that, and then you ask like, okay, but like, did you do it? Did it work for you? And sometimes you notice that they're not really doing what they tell other people to do, and then how you really know if it actually works. I mean, I'm not saying what works for one person has to work for another. That's usually not true, but if you once you start like understanding the basic mechanisms behind it, then you can like adjust those to your own body. So when I found out about the diet and how that worked, then I started like looking for, okay, I know how these mechanisms are working, and how can we maybe add something more, like another supplement on top that will activate these even stronger, you know? And like, we're fasting, so we know we are limiting cell proliferation, so the growth, but what can we add on top to limit it even more, just for that amount of time? And when we're feeding again, then we're not limiting it, we're letting it all rip, you know? And like, but like over the day with the fasting and the growth cycles, we have more fasting than we have growth. And like in theory and in the net result, we have less growth than we do have sort of cell cycle arrest, a shrinkage, you know what I mean?
Yes, which makes sense. And like you say, it's finding that balance, isn't it? So if it's okay with you, let's jump onto the topic of fasting for just a minute, because there's a lot of people, if they've been diagnosed with this and they've come across this video, fasting can sound quite scary to a lot of people and quite a big thing. Does it have to be hard? Does it have to be really, really limiting? Does it have to be not eating for long periods of time? What's your take on fasting?
Yeah, so the way I do it is honestly maybe a little bit cheating, but maybe also not, because I looked at this whole bulletproof coffee lifestyle thing, and for me that works great, and I did that for years, and I still do it most days, but there's also days where I don't eat just because I don't get around to it and I'm not really hungry. But yeah, I mean, for anyone who hasn't done it, I think that's a super easy way to start, because it doesn't involve any willpower. You could just you wake up in the morning and you wait maybe an hour or two, and then you can drink this bulletproof coffee. And that's basically it's coffee beans, it's a little bit of butter, some MCT oil, and you put that in a blender. It sounds weird, but it tastes really good, actually, like a latte or something. And it makes you really full, and you can go like with no problem to like 1 p.m. or so. That's what I do. And then around 1 p.m. you see now it's past 1, but I can go like to 3 or 4 if I need to. Sometimes I like have to work, and then it's 6 p.m. and then I say, well, you really want to start eating now? Let's just call it a day and fast until tomorrow.
So you don't realize what's happening. It creeps up on you. The more you get used to not eating at set times, the easier it becomes, essentially.
Yeah, and it's all about metabolic flexibility. You know, there's these people right now in the whole keto movement that think that the solution is to be in ketosis all day, every day. And I think if you fast all your life, you're gonna be dead, you know. And if you are in ketosis for all of your life, you're probably also not gonna be that healthy. Same goes for if you're gonna eat carbs every day, you know. I think the body needs these cycles. And I think it's a great idea to be in ketosis maybe 5 days a week, you know, maybe if you're a woman, maybe 4 days a week or so. If you're a child, maybe even less. but this ability to switch from one state of metabolism to the other in the shortest amount of time, that seems to be actually related with the best longevity.
Yeah.
So because if you're in ketosis all the time, then it probably throws you out of ketosis if you eat a carb, and then you take like days to get back maybe.
Yeah.
Or you're already insulin sensitive because of that long-term ketosis. But if you switch like every couple days, then your body becomes used to just metabolizing whatever's there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it comes into that balance. And it makes sense if you think back to how we as humans grew in an evolutionary way, is that we didn't, that's probably how we lived. We probably didn't eat, all the time. We probably were in ketosis a lot from just the way that we lived. And we've just got so far away from that we've got no idea anymore.
True.
Just if we can, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but just going back to, you added in children previously.
Yeah.
If somebody's child has been diagnosed with PKD, can they do something about it for their child in the way that you have? Because obviously fasting is a really difficult one to do with children. Yeah. Is there other things that if people joined the Facebook group that you've got that, or came to you, that you would be able to work with them with?
Yeah, I think the most important aspect for children, and obviously the one that isn't involved with any dangerous things,
yes,
is keeping the diet clean. You can adopt this diet regimen and just give the kids the carbs. That's not what it's about in the younger ages, because also problems usually don't really arise before they're 16, 18,
Okay.
If they are actually 15, 16 years old and they have like kidney pain, then I would probably get them on an intermittent ketogenic diet. So I would probably give them carbs maybe 3 days a week or so. I don't think you're really running a risk there, because that is very, very evolutionarily closely aligned with what's been happening for millions of years. So I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
I wouldn't have them fast all the time and stuff like that. That is just not what children should be doing.
No.
I also don't think it will kill them if they fast one day, because that actually did happen in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like the ketogenic aspect and the fasting aspect, I will probably keep that to maybe 16, 18 years, maybe 20, and I would individually adjust that. I mean, if there are problems with pain there earlier, then it's probably worth it to integrate the ketogenic stuff, and always keep it metabolically flexible. I don't think that a child needs to have carbs every day. Why? There's no reason for it, but you shouldn't restrict them also. I mean, it's just a natural flow of the diet. I don't know. I think it's just a great way to look at the whole diet thing. Is you don't have to measure everything. You don't have to like be so diligent about everything. You can just like get a basic idea of what's a carb and what's a vegetable, and maybe which vegetables have enough anti-nutrients, so we should avoid them.
Yeah.
And then add some really healthy, like grass-fed beef or lamb or stuff like that. Many go in the vegan direction. I don't. And then like just have a plate of food. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to have rice or potatoes every time. And if there's broccoli on there and a nice protein source like steak or something else, eggs. Why do you have to like think more about that stuff? That works.
It's good enough. Yeah, it's brilliant actually to be able to add that variety, I think, in your life, because we're all so stuck, aren't we, in this way of thinking that we have to eat like this and we must have these sections of a plate. Like you're taught in school, this is the plate and this is where the sections go and this is where you have to put your food, and we carry on with it, and we never question it or think, oh well, I might be a bit different. That's just what's in your head, isn't it? So I think it'd be quite, it's helpful if you've got a child, because the whole family can go along with this then with the child as a new way of life, and it's it's freeing. I think it's it's not a way to think about it as being tied to a rigorous lifestyle, like you were saying. You can think of it more as freedom from what we've been taught, what you were doing. It's just
I mean, like, I hear this so often that people say, no, I can't do that. I personally, I just need carbs. I just don't feel well. I can't do the ketogenic. That's really doesn't have anything to do with like them personally. It's just like that they're so adapted to eating carbohydrate, and whenever they do a ketogenic diet, then they still have some carbs, and they just cannot ever switch over because they're always like keeping this. It's like smoking like one cigarette every day and then trying to stop smoking that way. I don't think that'll work.
No, definitely doesn't. I've been there. It does not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a long time ago, but yeah, it definitely doesn't. It still, like you say, keeps it in your system. It keeps the nicotine in your system, and all you think about is the point when you're going to have that cigarette the next day. And it's the same with food, because it's still the same addictive quantities as when I'm going to hit that feeling that I get when I eat those carbs or whatever. That's what you start to live for.
That's this whole concept of the cheat day. People confuse the carb day with a cheat day now. We do carb days, but we don't do cheat days because, I mean, you wouldn't do that in your relationship, would you?
No, makes no sense.
No, doesn't make sense. It's just not good, and it doesn't feel good. I did that for some time when I started discovering all this, and I just remember that I had this every Saturday. And every Friday I would go shopping. I would buy like all these sweets. I would spend like 10, 15 bucks just on crap.
Yeah.
And I vividly remember this. Like each Saturday I would just like start eating, I don't know, wine gums or chocolate, stuff like that in the morning. And I would feel bad and like bloated and have like reflux by an hour later, and then I still had all this stuff.
Yep.
And I still wanted to eat it, but I was already feeling miserable, but I still wanted to keep going. And like for days I couldn't stop thinking about all that food. And then this maybe Wednesday, Thursday I stopped thinking about it, but then there's already Friday thinking about it again.
Yep.
And Saturday starting it all over again. So stopping that cheat day really was one of the best things that I did.
Yeah. But it's hard. It's not to be underestimated how hard it is to do that when you're essentially going up against your subconscious mind then, in a way, because your subconscious mind knows what it wants, knows what makes you happy, it thinks, and it's going to do it. And it's hard. Yeah, never underestimate the difficulty of going up against your subconscious. It's definitely, it's definitely a tricky one.
I think it's all about like having alternatives.
Yeah.
Because people think, oh, now I'm doing this healthy diet and I can't eat like chocolate, I can't eat sweet things, I can't eat fruit. I mean, that's not true. I mean, like the carby stuff, the fruits, and maybe a little milk chocolate, you could probably have that on the carb day, and those exist. But we have a great alternative sweetness now,
Yeah.
And I do have some plain yogurt with stevia and some berries, and I think that's awesome. I don't need like commercial yogurt for that.
Yeah.
I have like 90% dark chocolate from Lindt. It's great quality. It has like this vanilla kind of smell. Yeah. It's awesome. I love that stuff. And it's so sweet to me now. And the whole bar has 7 grams of sugar.
Fascinating, isn't it? I haven't got to 90% yet. I'm happy. I'm on the 70% with the Lindt, and I really like the 70%. But anything other than that, but like you say, it's pushing it.
It's worth it. If you can get just a tip from me, if you can get like imported, maybe once, the Lindt, the mild version of the Lindt 90%, it's no comparison to any other brand, because they have this like this light roast of the beans, and they have like a whole load of vanilla in there. Other 90% chocolates I don't really like, too bitter. But these guys, they managed to make this so mild. It's awesome. But they don't sell it in other parts of Europe or in the US.
Okay. Let's have a look. Maybe on eBay. Excellent. So if people want to find your Facebook group, I will put the link in the description box so that people can come and find you. and the group and get some support. What when they join, what sort of support is there for them? Is there somewhere they can go and look up what to do or how to go about it? Is there something they need to do when they join?
Yeah, so even for people who maybe aren't on Facebook or are still a little bit wary about the whole thing, you can even look at all the stuff that I write on the website, which is reversingpkd.com. But on the group as well, we have this announcement section, and that has, I think it's like over 30 or so articles. And you can just like start reading through from 0 to I don't know, 30 something.
Yeah.
And that has a pretty good actionable, like step-by-step thing in pretty much blog post format. It's not yet a guide where it says do this, do this, do this.
Yeah.
But it's blog posts that have the different topics one after each other, and it's pretty comprehensive. And we have loads of people who just read this and start and have amazing results that they post.
Wow. So that you within the group, then you are getting that feedback that it's working for people and that they're getting their results back, and that's changing as well.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it changes, but we usually get a couple people per month that post their results with like lab results and stuff like that. And that's a lot. I mean, back then when we started, I was like, very excited to hear like from one person who actually did it, because it is involved and most people just want to read exciting things and then don't do anything.
Yeah.
But now we actually have people who do it. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And that's such a nice support for people joining to see that it really is possible as well. That it's not just one person saying you can do it now. And it's so validating for you as well to see that this is working for other people as well. So no matter how much, your doctor might want to pretend that it's not working and it's just, look at the draw. It's just one of those things that actually other people are having these, they're keeping their levels down and they're doing it, and it's amazing. It must feel so nice to be able to do that and help people in that way.
Yeah, it's really great. I mean, like every time, I mean, I do the group, and I recently started also doing personal coaching for some of the members. And of course, there I have a very, very close relationship with the people that decide to do that with the clients. And I mean, there are people who are very close to going to dialysis, and for them, like even moving up like 1 point in their blood results is awesome,
Yes.
And they're so motivated by that, and that is really, really cool to see.
Yeah, really exciting. So I will put your website in the description as well if people want to get on there, have a look. If they, like you say, if there's somebody who's really at that level where they need help, then you're there, you're available, and you're ready to talk. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Felix. I've really enjoyed talking about this. It's been it's fascinating. It all fascinates me, and just meeting people that are crusading and battling through it and dealing with the censorship and still there and refusing to go away. It's amazing, and there's definitely going to be somebody around somewhere who really needs to hear what you've got to say today. So thank you so much for spending the time here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think it's a really, really cool concept that you're having there. And I hope there's a lot more content of a lot more people that heal themselves or started healing at least.
Yes.
And I think that's so important, such an important message for other people to hear that it's possible. And I mean, there's so many, even other genetic diseases that people will just be 100% certain that you cannot do anything about it. Truth is, we don't know, because everybody's doing the same thing.
Exactly. Until you find that one person who you come across from random circumstances and there they are saying something different, and that can be all you need sometimes. So hopefully, people will come across this and find it and find you and change their lives.
Yeah, I think for every disease, doesn't matter what it is, it makes sense to just like get acquainted with your own body and try to just like get things right, stop ignoring the signs of, when people have cancer and they get it cut out and then they just start doing the same things over and over again, and they don't change their lifestyle. That's just not the right approach. You know, you really have to like get the basics right, and then maybe something else will resolve.
Yes, I was talking to a lady the other day who said to me, do you know what a really great thing to do is to take a weather report on your body. So every day, take a weather report and listen to what your body's telling you that day that it needs or it wants, or if there's something hurting, why is it hurting, and really get to know yourself in that way. And that really goes with what you're saying, I think, about listening to your body, and what you said earlier about if you never change anything, then you never know, because you don't know what it feels like to feel the other way. So why not? What have you got to lose? Change things and then take a weather report and see how your body feels. But I really like that concept. I heard it the other day and I thought, you know what, I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. Yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah, listening to your body, checking in every day. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for watching today. I really hope that you do get something from this conversation, and goodbye.